Usually helps if your mic is actually set as your audio input. And there we go. Let me tweet the link here. Alright. So, that was an interesting game. First of all, what's up, everyone? I know this is my second live stream today, but I just can't stay away from it. And you know me. So, we are going to talk about what happened. And it wasn't a pretty game by any stretch of the imagination. It was not pretty. But it was a win. Right off the bat, I took the liberty here of took the liberty. Never said that. I wrote some stuff down that I noticed in the game, so we'll go over that. We'll take a look at some of the official stats, and we'll go from there. One thing right away that I want to go over here. Hang on a second. Okay. I don't know why my stream's being weird. So first off, Panarin by far was the Hawks' best player tonight. I had no real big shock on that one. The first goal, I still don't know how that went in. I honestly, I mean, I know it did get deflected on the way in, so that's basically the reason that puck went in. It was a nice one-timer. I think Kane had the assist on that goal. It was a nice shot, but there's no reason that should have gone in from that angle. And then right after that, we went to a 4-on-4. I believe that was when Kruger got his embellishment penalty. And that was quite possibly the most boring 4-on-4 I've ever seen. It almost seemed like it came and went before anyone knew that it happened. And yeah, it wasn't that great. The second Panarin goal, right at the end of the first period, it was a bad defense. Taylor Hall on the back check tried to go for the hands on the hook, and I think they talked about it on TV. You can't do that. You gotta go for the puck on that, or at least go for a stick lift instead of going for the hands. And Panarin got off the. I know he bounced off at least one defenseman, and then went right into the slot and just rifled it in. That was a beautiful shot. But on the same line, Talbot did not play well in that first period. Like I said, that the first goal was not great. Second one was a great shot, but his glove hands still look pretty slow. Before we go any further, if you have a comment, you can put it in the chat. I have an eye on the chat over there, and or tweet it or whatever. That's up to you. So after the first, the shots on goal were 9-5 for the Hawks, and I thought it was actually a pretty well played period. On face-offs especially, the Hawks won 12 out of 18 face-offs in that first period. I thought it was good, but then right at the end of that first period, we had a power play. I can't remember who it was from Edmonton that got a penalty on it, but right at the end of the first, it carried over into the second. I felt like after that power play ended, that the Hawks looked a little flat, even during the power play. My note here is that at 3 minutes in, I looked at the scoreboard on the TV and went, "Oh yeah, we had a power play that ended at some point." Not much happening on that, but I didn't really watch that much of the second. I started trying to kill a fly in my apartment because that was more entertaining. But I did see Crawford had some incredible saves in that period, and in a period where the Oilers outshot the Hawks 22-6, which that's the highest differential that I've seen in a long time, at least in the NHL. Um, and then the Hawks, I believe, for the entire game, were better on faceoffs. I can pull up the sheet here. Yes, they ended up. Well, the final numbers were. Well, we'll get to that. The first Edmonton goal was Eberle, which you can't give him the puck in deep, and I believe that was on the power play, if I remember right. Yes, that Eberle's goal was his first of the year too, from Nugent Hopkins and Clefborn or Clefbaum, or I can't read. Um, and then I thought that kind of woke up the Hawks a little bit, and then the Kane goal, which there is no logical reason a human being should be able to release a backhand that good. That was just a beautiful shot, and once again, Talbot was not exactly playing the best angle on that, but I'll take it. Uh, the one, one of the things I noticed in that was Trevor Daley firing a puck into McHenry County. That he carried it in deep along the left wing and then just tried to rifle it. It was on a power play, if I remember right. And while I get what he's trying to do, you also can't give up possession on a shot that wide, because I mean Talbot didn't even have to move on it, and yeah, it just wasn't good. Um, and I also wanted to point out when the sky started falling. That was kind of entertaining. I don't know where it came from. Someone said it was from the rafters, but yeah, that was kind of entertaining. I was really hoping it would happen during play, not so it would hit anyone, but just so to watch the players react to something that big falling from the rafters. Anisimov, he had the last Hawks goal there with well, on NHL.com they listed it 1954, but I think it was with like 5.5 seconds left or somewhere around there. I still think he is one of the best pickups this team had over the offseason. There's been a lot of talk about how bad the defense is, for good reason, but Anisimov is someone that I know the organization was high on coming into the season, and that's why they traded, or they went after him. And I definitely see why. He's been one of the Hawks' most consistent players to start this season, but although that's also not exactly a high bar to cross. So we'll go through the shots here. After the first, it was 9-5 for the Hawks. Then after the second, the Oilers jumped out to a big lead in shots, and like I said, it started out with the 22 shots for the Oilers in that second period. And Crawford looked great. He had a couple of real good saves. Not many big rebounds that I can remember anyway. After that period, it was 27-15 in favor of the Oilers on those, and it kind of had the feeling of the game against the Blues on Wednesday, where no lead felt safe almost because the defense started playing a little bit lax, and it just had that feel, or I had that feeling anyway. But then the third period, they pretty much shut down the Oilers, except right at the end when they basically started doing an all-out press. Um, the third period shots were 13-9 in favor of the Hawks, and the totals were 36-28. The Oilers won that battle. Going on to the rest of the stats, the Oilers were 1 for 1 on the power play. That was that Eberle goal. It was a nice play. It was a great puck movement to get it down low, and they kind of forgot to cover Eberle. But yeah, oops. The Hawks were 1 for 4. That last goal with 5 seconds left was the one. Hits were 35-24 for Edmonton. The Hawks won the face-off battle 38-36. That was a battle that was not close after really the first 2 periods. And the Hawks only had 2 penalties tonight. One of them was the Tikhonov penalty, which Eberle scored on, and then the other one was Kruger for embellishment. 3 stars. Number 1 should not be a shock. It was Panarin, 2 goals and an assist on 4 shots and 18 minutes on ice. Number 2 was Kane. He had a goal and 3 assists. So he directly led to all of the goals tonight. And then the 3rd star was Crawford, who had 34 saves on 36 shots. Let me make sure. Yeah, I want to make sure I was reading that right. So Crawford did not have a good game in New Jersey on Friday, so it was kind of a good bounce back game for him. And you like to see that, especially from your top goaltender, because you don't want a situation like a few years ago where Niemi basically took over for Huey. And obviously having a backup goaltender that's solid is important, but you don't want to have to rely on that backup. And I mean, they are a backup for a reason, in other words. So I want to pull up the roster report here. Oh, no, I don't. I want to pull up something else. I want to pull up the face-off report because I wanted to take a look at this. Just looking at the numbers here, Anisimov again did not have that great of a night in the dot, but that doesn't really affect my opinion of him all that much. I still think he's a really good pickup. And Kruger was 7 for 10. Taves was 17 of 26, which, again, that should not be surprising. Caro was 3 for 7, and apparently Kane took a face-off. I don't remember that, but I'm just looking through, the only actual Oilers center that had a face-off percentage over 50 was Lander. He was 11 for 16 for 69%. So yeah, that once again, Taves being good on face-off should not be that much of a surprise. Moving to the time on ice report. Let's see here. Yeah, Hjalmarsson played a lot tonight. So did Daly. I mean, no one's going to play the kind of minutes that Keith does. It's just not possible. But you know, obviously these guys are trying to pick up the slack from that. Seabrook played 25 minutes, a little bit over 25, and you know, just looking through here, there's a lot of 20s. Svedberg was over 20. Crawford played 60, just in case you were wondering. And Dano somehow only played 9 minutes, which is kind of surprising. He only took 2 shifts in the third. That could be because they were trying to move into shutdown mode a little bit, or I don't want to read too much into it, but Hossa came back. He looked pretty good. He right at the end there drew the penalty that led to the power play that pretty much ended the game, and he showed a little bit of a jump that really we haven't seen for a while. Yeah, he's been playing well. I mean, he's him, but there's a difference when he's on and when he's playing a little off, and at least it looked to me like he's been a little off for a while, but it was good to see him start playing back to where he can. Real quick, let's take a look at the other scores in the league. There were 4 games tonight. We were the late game because we were on in Canada. Yeah. Not sure who was calling this game, if it was Bob Cole or Jim Hewson, or who it was from CBC or Rogers. But anyway, the Dallas Stars beat the Red Wings 4-1. The Devils beat Vancouver in overtime, and I did not see that goal, but I heard it was off of a nice pass. And the Bruins beat the Islanders 2-1. That is it. So, moving forward, I mean, the Oilers without McDavid are a totally different team, and you could really say that about any of their draft picks from really the last 10 years, because I know someone brought this up on Twitter. Let me pull up the Oilers draft pick history, because they have not picked a defenseman in the first round well, they have, but they've only picked one in a long time. And let me just pull up their draft history and we'll go over it, because that's really what struck me as their biggest problem, was they couldn't really stop much. Yeah, Taylor Hall can back check, and really all of those guys can, but if you don't have to rely on that, you'd rather not. And let's take a look here. So this year, obviously, they picked Connor McDavid first overall. Draisaitl was 3rd overall last year. Then Darnell Nurse is the last defenseman taken by the Oilers in the first round. He was 7th overall. Then going back before that, Yakupov was in 2012, Nugent Hopkins the year before that, Taylor Hall before that, Payarvi was before that, Eberle the year before that. So that's going back to 2008, all forwards. Then we go, 2007 was Sam Gagne, Jeff Petrie was 2006, Andrew Cogliano was 2005, who I totally forgot existed. Devin Dubnyk was the last goalie. That was in 2004. And then we're just gonna start skipping some of these, because Hemsky was in 2001. Just going back here, the last defenseman taken in the first round by the Oilers was Michael Heinrich or whatever, who apparently did not make the NHL. So yeah, the last first round defensive pick that the Oilers made that made the NHL played 5 games, and I can't even pronounce his name. So yeah, they really need to get some defense, more than anything. But I did not know that they drafted Kirk Maltby. Well, you learn something new every day. But yeah, there's a definite, between that and goaltending, there's a definite talent gap between that and the forwards, because yeah, you can't win championships that way. I mean, Exhibit A of that is the Hawks in 2014. The forwards, well, I guess I guess I should put it a different way. You need a more complete game than probably any other time in the NHL's history. Um, in 2014, it's been pretty well beaten to death that the reason the Kings beat the Hawks in that conference final was the fourth line. They had one, and the Hawks at the time didn't. Um, and it's big. You got to get those complete team games, and the Oilers, I just don't think have it right now. I mean, obviously McDavid being out is a big loss, but one player doesn't make a whole team. If it did, then they would have won when they drafted Eberle. They would have won when they drafted Hall. They would have won when they drafted Nugent Hopkins. It just goes on and on. All these forwards that they've drafted, that some of them have turned out pretty well. I mean, Eberle's a great player. McDavid's going to be a great player. But really, they haven't gotten all that much, especially going further back, especially deeper in the draft rounds. That's what word I was looking for. But anyway, looking at the Hawks schedule moving forward, let's take a look here. The next game is not until Thursday, which is kind of strange, but that one is against the Devils, and then next Saturday is a rematch in St. Louis against the Blues. Then a week from today, next Sunday night, I believe, yes. Next Sunday night is the last home game before the circus trip against Calgary, and then they play. We've gone over this before, but the Oilers, Flames, Canucks, Sharks, Ducks, and then Kings, and then we are into December. It's a kind of hard to believe, but the season's going by pretty fast. So anyway, let's not real sure what else there is to go over. The power play again, I thought tonight looked not great, with the obvious exception of Anisimov's goal right at the end there. That was if you follow me on Twitter, which you probably do, because sorry, got distracted. You probably do, because that's the only place I put this link. I had tweeted that the penalty with 14 seconds or 13 seconds, whatever it was the most Oilers way for the game to end. And as soon as I had hit send on that tweet, the Anisimov scored. And I said, I tweeted that, correction, that was the most Oilers way for the game to end. And they just have a lot of work to do. And luckily for them, they're in a division where they can do that. The Pacific is not great at all by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, just pulling up the standings here. Actually, it's a good idea. Let's go through the standings. So sitting in first in the Central is still the Stars. They've got a 3-point lead over the Blues. The Blues have a game in hand on them, though. Minnesota sits in third. Then Nashville and Winnipeg, they are tied. But I'm not. Oh, Nashville has superior percentage. That's why they're higher. So I couldn't figure out how they have the almost exact same record and the same regulation overtime wins, but Nashville is ahead. But anyway, then the Hawks sit in sixth, and once again, there's been a lot talked about in this division. There is a 1-point gap between third place in the division and sixth place. the Hawks have 17 points, Winnipeg has 18, Nashville has 18, Minnesota has 18. Then second place is the Blues with 21. This division is just so ridiculously tight. And, I mean, look at a division like the Pacific. The first place team is LA with 18 points. They would be, let's see, they have 9 wins. So they would probably be third in the Central, if I'm doing math in my head correctly, which it's a very good possibility that I'm not. Vancouver would be, yeah, they would be 6th in the Central. Actually, they would be 7th because the Hawks would have a better percentage. And it's just ridiculous how much talent is in this division. I've talked about it before. They've talked about it on TV before. It's going to be a fun season to watch this division beat up on itself, really. And I've said this a couple times. It almost would benefit the Hawks or any other team to make the playoffs as a wild card and play in the Pacific Division, because teams like LA, you know, you can beat. Vancouver, I don't believe we've seen yet, or have we? No. So you don't really know what to expect from them. You know, San Jose is always right around a 500 team, which they are again this year. Coyotes, same thing. Anaheim's starting to come back a little bit. They've won 4 in a row. Their goal differential's still awful, though. They're 11 under, and you can't really win that way. Calgary is not doing much, and then Edmonton we saw tonight, who probably is going to be going for a high draft pick again. And then, obviously, in the Central, we have Colorado, who's kind of our bottom feeder. They've got 9 points. They sit 8 points out of 6th place, which this early in the season, that's not great. I don't think WA will get canned this early in the season, but unless that team picks it up, it's probably a very good possibility. And you know, I really won't complain because I am not a Patrick Waugh fan. At least from the coaching standpoint, I don't think he's that good of a coach. I think the year that they won the Central was a fluke. But, you know, we'll see moving forward. Maybe that team decides to wake up. But, especially being 2-5-1 at home, you can't win that way. And kind of going along with that, the Hawks have had a lot of home games to start this season off, but they're 1-5 on the road with no points outside of that one win. And that's not a sustainable record. You got to start winning some of those road games, especially against the division opponents, which I think we're going to learn a lot about this team this month, especially on the circus trip. Those games against LA and Anaheim. Anaheim always plays them tough in Anaheim. LA always plays them tough. Vancouver, to a certain extent, does as well. But what are you going to be able to do when you're on the road for basically 3 weeks? I mean, the last home game is Sunday the 15th. The next home game after that isn't until December 1st. So, I mean, it's maybe 2.5 weeks, not exactly 3 weeks, but it's going to be interesting, I think, moving forward. There's a lot to like about this team, but there's also a lot of things that concern me a little bit, particularly on the back end, and Duncan Keith being out is a lot of that, but, you know, we'll see what happens. I am at 29 minutes, looks like. It's hard to tell because my screen here that I'm actually streaming off of, it says that I'm at 30 minutes actually in 3 seconds. On that screen, which I'm using a monitor, it says that I'm at 29:45 right now. So I'm not really sure which one to believe. But anyway, we're at about a half hour, so I think we can wrap this thing up here. But yeah, our next game here will be Thursday. I don't know if I'll do a post game. It is a home game, but I also have to be up early on Friday, so I'm not. Well, I guess I do. I have to be up early tomorrow too, but I just kind of stopped caring about that for a little bit. And then we got the Blues on Saturday. Chances are I will do a stream after that Saturday night game, unless something else comes up. Uh, I'm going to try to do them for all weekend games, especially ones against like major opponents, for lack of a better term. Mainly divisional games, but I'll do them whenever I feel like it, pretty much. The biggest reason I didn't start doing these was um, I couldn't find enough time to sit down and watch the whole game. But these past few, I have been able to. I didn't watch all of the New Jersey game because I didn't want to put myself through that torture. But I did stick it through the Blues game, and I stuck it through this one, and I'll probably stick it through the Devils game on Thursday. But anyway, just keep an eye on Twitter, keep an eye on your YouTube homepage if you're a subscriber, because I'm pretty sure it gives notifications that I'm live. I'm not totally positive on that, but anyway, all right. So once again, Hawks win 4-2. Panarin looked good. Kane looked good. That whole line looked good. Anisimov looked good. Crawford looked really good. Daly did not. The people that attach things to the roof in the United Center did not. But that's neither here nor there. I am done. I'm out of here. Have a great night, and I will see you either Thursday or next Saturday or at some point. I'll see you later.